We already noted the board commendations of our scholar athletes. I mentioned that as the reason why we started late tonight. So we do have our communications. I noticed Will Hughes was mentioned. He's here. We missed you tonight at the recognition of your sports team, Will, but congratulations for the soccer team and everybody on being scholar athletes. But it's your turn if you'd like to come on down and give us our student report. Oh, I'm sorry. I never approved the agenda. I didn't ask that. Huh? I just approved you. I'm sorry. Sorry, Will. I need to have a motion to approve the agenda as it stands. Kevin, second. Judy, any questions or changes for the agenda? No, all in favor? 7-0. Thank you. Sorry, Will. Please.
Sorry for my late arrival. I was at my other sports team at a swim meet, so it was one or the other, and it's the season you're in. But since the last time we met, there was a nice holiday break in which I hope you all enjoyed. And there's actually only one topic that I have that's sort of going around the school right now in the hallways and the classrooms, and that is that midterms are next week. So it is a very big time this week for all the students as they're preparing for multiple tests, maybe one test, or in-class presentations for some of them as well. But I have full faith in all of these students because I know all of them are super intelligent and smart and know just what they need to do. And I'd ask that if you're walking around these halls or you see a student just out in the community, you just recognize that you give them some encouragement. Say, good luck next week, or, just give them something to really motivate them, because I know personally it means a lot to hear that from just about anyone going into next week. I'm sorry, that's really all I have that's happening right now, other than I guess our sports teams are doing tremendous, and that's about it. That's my report.
Do you do a sport next season as well? Are you all seasons?
Possibly. I'll possibly be doing track and field.
Okay. So.
Yep.
Well, you're very busy. Good luck next week, Will.
Thank you.
Thank you for that report. I'll try to remember that. So the president's report, I kind of said something that said I'm just surprised how fast time flies. I can't believe that next week we are mid-year through the school year itself. And that means budget season's upon us. I know that as we all do, that has the potential of sucking the oxygen out of every other conversation as that becomes the dominant discussion. In every way, I hope we won't. I think over the last 8 to 9 years ago, many of us felt the pendulum swung really far in one direction, and then we purposely had it swing back, and we're getting a little less and less swings right as we zero in on being comfortable that we are where we need to be, that we can stay who we want to be as a district overall, and also change to become what we want to become. So I'm looking forward to the budget discussions that we have with the community, with the various bargaining units, and getting out a budget that best serves our children into the future. Overall, though, that's all I have for tonight. I will turn the time over, Brett, to you.
Great. Can I just add one thing, because you mentioned it before our meeting officially began, that all of our teams won the student athlete recognition, and that means that 75. So just for anyone out there watching, just so they are aware of the fact that we are proud of our students for not just their athletic ability, but that they are able to maintain their student work and maintain a 90% average for their teams during their season. So I just wanted to add that to you, because you'd said it earlier, but we weren't on at that time.
That's good. Thank you.
Good evening and Happy New Year. Welcome to 2019. It's been a great start to the school year. In regards to our Hadley's Homeowners Association, we are limited to the scope of what we can say, and even when and how much we can meet with the Hadley's Homeowners Association as a result of the legal stance and notice of claims that they have made to date. Saying that, I am confident in our good neighbor policy. I am confident that we understand their concerns, and since the first day that I have been superintendent, since 2015 in July, I have listened and working on addressing those concerns, irregardless of their notice of claims. Irregardless of their notice of claims, making sure that we address and maintain health and safe and secure facilities. Modifications have been made to 28 buses to date that should reduce the beeping and alarm sounds during their post-trip inspections and during the morning and the afternoon hours. The district modified lighting at the transportation site. We will continue to assess the lighting situation that impacts the site, balancing the safety and security of the needs of our staff and, of course, our students at that facility. The district is also examining options for features or landscaping to reduce the noise pollution when you have a fully functioning bus garage. We're considering fence with fabric screening or sound-absorbing type materials, concrete structures or solid structures, 8 to 10 feet in height. The district is committed to reviewing adding more trees or shrubbery, like we've been saying since the inception of this project, before the notice of claims. The dirt pile that was dispersed along the back of the site, which has caused alleged concerns, will be used in the spring and the fall as filler for the site. There is one additional unleaded pump, which 10 agencies use as a fueling island. These agencies include the police, fire, ambulance, town vehicles, and of course our buses. The canopy protects users and provides safety and security. That's liability to support and protect the district's interest. The canopy holds the fire suppression. If the canopy wasn't installed, the fire suppression would hang on another structure to support the piping. The canopy was pushed closer to the road to minimize the impact of the rear site buffer and thereby lessen any potential impact on the neighborhoods behind us. The building was redesigned as a 2-story structure to save the square footage of the structure, again, to minimize the impact on the rear site buffer to lessen the impact on nearby neighborhoods. Again, I'm confident in our commitment to listen and understand. I'm confident in our good neighbor policy to make sure that we are responsive and being the best we could be for our community as a whole. (2019) in our schools is well underway. We are in the midst, in the beginning stages of our budget cycle. The Board of Education recently approved some budget goals. It's important to recognize that these goals are commensurate with the Board of Education's priorities and our community's expectations. You could see when it comes to class size, making sure that we're putting together class sizes that are developmentally appropriate and that promote opportunities for connections with students. We understand from listening to multiple bargaining units that the mental health needs of our students is a priority. We need to make sure that we're responsive to those needs in our programming. We need to continue to find a variety of ways to engage our students in schools. That is a priority, and it has been a long-standing priority of this Board of Education. Ensuring that our curriculum management systems are related to educational priorities. And here's one that was a community priority as we went through our District Advisory Council last year, maintaining of our aging facilities to support 21st century structures. In doing so, the district is committed to allocating up to 1% of our annual budget on identified needs via our building condition survey. Continue to identify cost containment measures. Review the use of all of our reserves to establish prudent floors of these reserves to support this concept of sustainability. There will be community staff budget meetings on January 29th at Joanna Perrin from 4 o'clock to 5. That's for staff. And there will be a community budget meeting for community residents on Thursday, January 31st at Minerva DeLand, beginning at 7 p.m. You'll be seeing more information about that in the very near future on our social media. Last month, was an important month, December, before we went off to the holiday break. We had a demography study. We're recapping this here because I think it's important that we recognize that the worst of it is over. We have, for the past 12 years, decreased 932 students, according to our data. Class sizes have been less than outgoing graduating classes, and you see that today when you have 402 kindergarten students to a class of 497. That class will continue to move through our system. Our current enrollment is at 5,700 approximately. We have a 5-year range. Within the next 5 years, we'll be between 5,601 and 5,628 students, with the lowest projection being 5,601 students. And again, that means a lot to us because when we were seeing 1 to 2% reduction in our student population over the past several years, it's starting to level out. And we should see some consistent numbers. And that helps us as we talk about staffing and programming and making very important decisions for the district as we move into the future. The current graduating class has 498 students. The 5-year range, again, is between 445 and 490. And the lowest projection in 2021 and 2022 is 445 students. Again, that consistency and predictability will help us as we engage in future planning conversations, which brings me to this very important slide. Last year, this slide was vetted and created through our District Advisory Council, and Board of Education adopted our strategic initiative relative to facilities planning. The primary initiative this year is to review and improve building safety requirements and processes. To date, we are engaging in a comprehensive safety and security audit with our partners with Monroe County Sheriff and the Fairport Village Police Department, going to all of our schools, reviewing our spaces, reviewing our processes to make sure that we're doing all we can when we're talking about safety and security. It's a district priority, it's a community priority, and it's a student priority. We're creating a multi-year plan to meet the essential building improvements identified in the New York State mandated building condition survey. The Board of Education since August has been looking and reviewing at the building condition survey during board workshops. So I'm confident that they have a firm grasp on what our buildings need. That information is very important as we talk about future planning and how we're going to continue to maintain our facilities so they could be optimal for learning for our students. We're also taking a look at initiative number 2, which is complete a cost-benefit analysis of combining Minerva DeLand and Fairport High School. Now, that has been an ongoing conversation. The building condition survey has been critical to that. We're analyzing the benefits and the costs associated with a potential merger. We're waiting from New York State. New York State has had our paperwork for the past several weeks. And they're measuring or they're trying to figure out what are our building aid units so we can share with the public in the very near future in a community forum what that impact would be, what that impact will be on the community. So please stay tuned for future updates. Hopefully within the next couple weeks we will have that information available and we'll be able to talk about it in community forums such as board meetings, workshops, and of course one in the general public on this very topic. But it's important to note that the board is also committed to this idea of start times, adjusting our start times to align with research, and later start times for our secondary students. So that conversation as we move along will continue to gain momentum and clarity as a district. As we look into January, we have some, you can see the new year starting, but our commitment and our interest in making sure that our students have all the opportunities they need to be successful. Like Mr. Forsgren said, we had 13 teams. That's all of our teams, our interscholastic teams, were able to maintain at a great rate, 90% or above average. And that's a commitment to academic excellence. Here's a commitment to the arts and how we get our students to perform and creatively express themselves. It's the new year. I have, again, the great fortune of going to all of our schools. And this was in the halls of Brooks Hill Elementary School. I think kids have the greatest wisdom, and they share the greatest wisdom of them all. Here are some New Year's resolutions that I'm thinking about embracing as we move along. Help the world by being kind. That speaks truth. Goal for 2019, worry less. Have a growth mindset. This is a good one. Pick up Grandpa's cane. Share your toys when your friends are alone. Share toys when your friends are alone. Say hello to someone. Think about that. Say hello to somebody. Makes a difference in the quality of someone's day. These are great reminders for us all. I also have the opportunity to meet with students frequently. And be assured, when it comes to social media, they're aware of the benefits, but they're also aware of their responsibilities, and they want to talk more about it. When it comes to school start times, they're keen on all the topics. When it comes to social justice, they want to engage in these conversations. They see themselves as instrumental players in all these conversations as we move forward. And I can't wait to delve into it with them, not only this year, but well into the future. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be the superintendent of Fairport. I'm passionate about serving the community and doing my best for everybody in this role. Thank you.
Thanks, Brett. And after working 4 years, although you've been in the district for how long now?
Total?
Altogether.
I think 14.
I haven't worked with you that long, but for at least 4 years as superintendent. I appreciate your people-orientedness. I, again, emphasize people, the instruction from the board is to be good neighbors. And although it can be challenging under certain circumstances based on what's happened and this and that and advice from this and that, and that is our direction, to be our best as good neighbors as we possibly can. And pointed out that, in maintaining a good fiscal standpoint is having the foresight to say we don't know what all will hit us, but we know we need to set aside reserves. For that reason, we won't be, redirecting money away from programs. When we go through this budget process, we will stay focused on the youth. Right? We have come up with ways to manage the other situations because we don't know what they'll be, but we are a big enough organization to say we need to have contingency plans for it and contingency funds. So thank you, Brett, for that. Okay, our treasurer's report.
Thank you and good evening. Tonight we have the treasurer's report for the month of November 2018. We had a beginning general fund balance of $81.6 million, receipts in the month of $7 million, disbursements of $15 million for an ending cash balance of $73.6 million. Of the $73.6 million, approximately $69.2 was invested in a combination of treasury bills, CDs, and insured cash sweep account, which is approximately 94%. So,
excellent.
Tight cash flow
right.
work by the treasurer, and I just want to commend his work on that piece. So.
As long as you're paying everybody, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I have a question. So, Matt, I'm probably a month early on this, but the November information says, okay, we've got so much money that's come in from the state, or not from the state, from our town, which is our local shares, and that's only about 70% of what it is that we had requested. So I know we have people will take the opportunity to do it in 2 or 3 months payments. Are we where we expect to be, I guess is my question, because we usually don't get the full amount until sometime in December or January from our local taxes. And what's the status? Are we where we expect to be in terms of where the state decides every 3 or 4 months that it's time to send some money our way?
State or towns? I just want to
I
clarify.
want both.
There's the property tax piece.
Property tax
Yep,
first,
the property
please.
tax collection takes place through September, October, and then it gets turned over eventually to the county, of which then folks are paying the county for the
Service.
taxes. Yep, and then, so do you see money here came from the county? And then also, we receive the balance of it after money's re-levied on the December, January billing. That's the town and county taxes, and then we receive the remainder, I believe, approximately in April of the property tax. State aid flows throughout the year at different points. Usually March ends up being a higher point in payment, and then even money from the current year aid doesn't flow sometimes until, such as BOCE's aid, the remainder comes around in August timeframe. So, in terms of, where we expect to be, we look at the cash flow and analyze those pieces, and I think we're in a fairly similar spot as to where we've been in years past for.
Well, I noticed, as you said, we've got a lot of money set aside. I just want to know, are we where we expect to be for the year? Because
Yep, it lines up similar to where we were last year at this point in time.
I remember when I first came on here and I said, we didn't have enough money to make it to the end of the year, and then I learned more about how these things go, so that's my question.
Yeah, the big piece is the tax collection, and now you'll see a little less receipts than happened earlier on with disbursements usually exceeding the receipts,
Okay.
until the state aid payments come in the months. Yep.
Okay.
Other questions? Thank you, Matt. Approval of the consent calendar, rather short this time, but our various minutes from other meetings and treasurer's report. Need a motion to approve. Judy, second. Marty? All in favor? 7-0. And then personnel actions, instructional staff actions, starting there on page 2, taking us all the way to the bottom of page 3. Need a motion to approve the Joyce, second. Kevin? Any questions here? No? All in favor? 7-0. Part B, starting on bottom of page 3, athletics. What's that? Just that on bottom of page 3, just the one. So, motion to approve that. Joyce, second. Judy. Questions, comments? All in favor? 7-0. Page 4, non-instructional and civil service staff actions. That is all of page 4 and 5 to the bottom of page 5. Motion to approve. Judy, second. Marty. All in favor? 7-0. Memorandum of Understanding with the Fairport Educators Association. A motion to approve this MOA. Marty, second. Joyce, any questions about the MOA? Okay, all in favor? 7-0. Very good. To the more fun parts, the presentations or update from campus construction.
Come on, George.
Thanks. I hope everybody's doing well. So let me start the presentation here. So the total project budget breakdown, the transportation facility capital project referendum is $11,200,000. Incidental budget is $1,839,200. Construction contingency budget is $403,100. The transportation facility referendum is $8,957,700. And the total, the 215 SIP referendum is $782,600. And the construction contracts budget is $9,740,300. The adjusted construction contingency budget is $403,100. The approved change order totals to date is $140,257. The remaining construction contingency is $262,843. The construction project is approximately 63% complete. The contingency budget is 35% spent. The contract allowances approved totals is $65,778. The project team is currently following approximately $136,065 in pending issues.
George, in your experience, and
Yes.
I don't know if it's a fair question or not, but I'll ask. For contingency budget-wise, 35% spent, where does the most generally end up spent? At the beginning of the project, the end, or is it just spread throughout typically for contingency?
It's pretty much spread throughout.
Okay.
And right now, I think we're tracking pretty well. 63%, usually you're neck and neck. So, and we're pretty far along the process right now, so we're tracking fairly well.
I was kind of wondering, I know when sometimes you dig up things or this and that, especially fuel areas, is that going to be more expensive or less expensive, and where do we need to spend money we didn't plan on, but you think spread throughout, or, so you're not going to promise that we're done spending contingency between now and then?
No, unfortunately, I can't. I wish I could. We still
No,
have
I
a building
don't-
to knock down, so.
Don't expect you to do that, but,
Yeah.
so anyway, you think it still could have any number of things between now and the end?
Yes, sir, yes.
And what do you explain pending issues?
And pending issues are things that we're looking at currently, so there might be, trying to think of one now. Pending issues, we had to redirect the slope of the floor, so that was a pending issue that we had to look into, so we had to attach a dollar value to that. The slope of the concrete on the floor, because there was a drain that was kind of off skew, so we had to just make sure that that was properly installed so that any water that comes in and it comes off the buses is actually going to be collected properly. So they're just, miscellaneous items here and there that we track. So, good. So North Side Elementary School in Dudley, I'm going to just combine these. The work commenced or started in March 26, 2018, and both of the work at those schools has been completed, and the final cost reports have been submitted to SED. So at the Transportation Center, site work, the fuel island canopy work has been completed, and the balance of the fuel island testing, the computer programming, and miscellaneous items will be completed in the spring of 2019. Some of these are weather pending due to other conditions. The piping for the gutter laterals is currently being installed, and the canopy lighting has been completed. The actual physical lights have been installed, and the wiring has been installed as well. They have not been activated yet because, of course, the new building hasn't been activated electrically.
When do the other agencies anticipate being able to start refueling there again?
Probably late spring, early summer, I would anticipate. There's still a lot of groundwork that has to be done, so once we complete the building and we have staff and faculty members move into the new building, then we still have to demolish the existing building and actually do all the grading and asphalt work in front of the new transportation building. So it's going to be a little bit, but it's going to happen quickly.
Did you say that people will move into the new building before the demolition of the old building, or will that happen?
Well, yeah, so we'll move, once the building is completed and punched out, we'll take everybody from the existing building into the new. So we have to also take their, the tools and everything else that's associated with them and move them in. And once they're in and it's fully operational, then we will take the existing building down.
Is there any, it just sounds like demolition of the building is probably something that shouldn't happen with people around.
I'm sorry.
We can't hear you.
Usually I have that habit.
Sorry about that. So it seems like demolition of a building is something that should happen without people in the area. Is there any risk to having people in the building so close to the old building while we're taking it down?
If we place the explosives correctly.
Okay.
No.
All right. The wrecking ball, okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to be sure.
It gets pulled down methodically.
Explosives, right, it's not being used.
I'll call you. I promise I will. So the deconstruction is actually very methodically removed. So basically, they come inside and they strip out pretty much all the mechanicals and the MEPs. And it's basically a backhoe or a large machine excavator actually methodically pulls the building away and down in small sections and clumps. And then there are dump trucks that are standby, and they just basically pick up the debris and get rid of it. So it comes down quickly, and it's very methodical.
There are no explosions.
No,
Right.
sir, no.
Yeah.
That's a good clarification.
I'm sorry about the joke if I upset anybody.
Yeah, that's not the right venue for that. Right.
Sorry, stand corrected.
You gotta read your crowd, George.
Okay, I'll hear about this one tomorrow. Progress of work in the building itself, January, early February. Decorative stonework on the facade is being installed in tandem with the siding panels. They're almost fully completed. I think in the next 3-4 weeks, you should see the panels installed. The interior liner panels and painting, that work has commenced, so the inside is looking very nice. It's coming along well. Metal studs, insulation, drywall, and drywall finishing work is ongoing. Trench drains and radiant heat loops on the south section of the building and concrete is going to be poured. That work should be completed by January 25th, so we'll have our full concrete slab installed within the building itself. The MEP rough-in work is being installed, and that work is ongoing. There's a mile of conduit in that building. The fire suppression system is currently being installed. The electrical work throughout the building, again, is ongoing. Stair Tower 2, the stairs are going to be installed in late January, and followed by the stairs in Tower 1. And then actually after that is completed, and we continue to go vertical with the elevator. And windows are going to be installed probably in 2 or 3 weeks, so it's going to look a little bit different. Right now everything is covered, so it looks like this big, gray. But once the fenestration is put in and the windows are put in, it's going to look quite nice, and the overhead doors. So that's the progression of work. So unfortunately, they're a little dull. But this is the interior of the space. This is the second floor, and this is some of the ductwork and the mechanical systems that are being installed. This is the second floor hall area. Actually, all of this is currently drywalled. Things go quick here. And to the right side is where the locker rooms and the driver's lockers will be installed. So that bank and that right wall will be completed with lockers for the drivers. This is the restroom, bathrooms. Basically, there's on the second level for all the drivers. We are currently drywalled in here, and we're going to start our tile and finishing work probably in about 2-3 weeks. So it'll look quite different for the next presentation. This is the inside space of the driver's room on the second floor. And this is standing below. This is some of the finishes in a drywall. You can see that most of it has been taped and spackled, and we're getting ready to paint this space itself. And this is part of the mezzanine area on the north side. The previous picture was on the south side, so we started our painting, and you can see the height and the expanse of this room. And this is right directly underneath where the buses are actually lifted up. So, obviously we need the space to get the buses fully up in the air.
So when the buses are lifted up in this current configuration, how much headroom will we have on top of the bus before,
I don't know. I don't have that.
Well, I know it was really constrained in the previous building, so, that's not an issue here.
Oh, no, not at all. No, we should be fine, yeah. There's a lot of mechanical work that still has to be put in play, which is going to actually drop down, but we have plenty of space. And this is the outside of the building on the south side. We have nice glass overhead doors that are going to be in, and again, this is just blanked off, and the windows are going to be installed probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And that's my presentation. Any questions? No. Thank you again.
Oh, only the board. One of the confusions sometimes, I don't apologize necessarily, but it's a meeting held in public, not necessarily a public meeting, right? That's other times that we have those. So the second presentation / discussion really that we had for this part is we've been looking at, right, as everyone knows here, and we've seen some preliminary financial estimates of merging a couple of our schools in different plans. We thought, before we hit into the budget season anyway, that take a break a little bit from the financial side and say, what are some of the non-financial considerations, right? Have that discussion about benefit. We know, Damon, I don't mean to put you on the spot necessarily, but you have brought up a couple over the last few weeks about, a ninth grade being by itself versus advantage of it having it at the high school for the students themselves. But those are the types of things, as well as others, I don't know. Anyway, we wanted to bring that up.
Just as a high-level topic of discussion, I don't have the answers to this. I think our staff and administration know a lot more about this than I do. But just in terms of what's best practice now within a secondary school environment, at the time that we separated Minerva and the high school, it was due to capacity and enrollment at the time. We don't have those same enrollment concerns. But as was pointed out to us last week or last month, the needs of the students today are different than they were back in 1970-something when we separated the buildings. But we are where we are right now, and so as we look to consolidation of Minerva with the high school, or the potential thereof, there's obviously financial considerations, but it's also really what's best for those kids, what's best for ninth grade students. Is it better for them to be in a separate ninth grade academy, or is it really better, best practice, to be together with 10th, 11th, and 12th, and having that mix of kids? Is it better from a, having older kids as examples? Is it better from a cohesive programming perspective? So we have the same program in ninth right through, 10th, 11th, and 12th to get that cohesion. Behavior-wise, is it better to have kind of a mix of kids? And I think there are some issues with having a separate ninth grade year. Does it acclimate them better? Does it minimize the amount of transitions the kids are doing? What is the best practice, say, around what should be happening? And I think that we should just be considering that as we look at or consider the options of merging the schools, both from a financial perspective as well as from an academic and mental health perspective. What does best practice say that we should really be looking at?
I'm glad that you're bringing that up, because I don't want people to think that this is strictly a financial decision that we're making. We are looking at the full picture and what's best for students, and I think inevitably we'll find, if we do make the move, that there'll be some losses. We'll lose some things, because there are some very good things, I think, about having the ninth graders alone, but then I think there'll be major gains in having a cohesive 4-year high school. So it's going to be a balance, and like everything else, there's going to be a give and take, but I'm glad you're bringing up that piece, that we're looking at more than a bottom line dollars and cents piece.
Over the years, it seems as if we toured that school, right, as we do every year, some of the, and we go at different times of the year, right? And it seems early in the season, they seem to be excited to be there on their own. And late in the season, late in the school year, it's, no way, right? It's time to be up. We want to be with the big boys or something. So I find that interesting transition for their own mental perspective of a ninth grade academy, whatever we want to call it. But do wonder that in terms of overall, will it be, is there research? I don't know about the overall, where's the right place for ninth graders? Are they better separated out or not? I think we have heard the number of transitions is a concern, right? That transition is a tough thing to do to students, and so this creates, in some ways, an unnecessary extra transition.
I was just going to say, I think one of the things in terms of mental health, which is where I always start, that matters is relationships. And there's pros and cons of both sides. When you attend a one-year academy, you have a chance to hopefully have a deeper relationship over the course of that year with less students, with staff and teachers. But there is something to be said for having multiple years for relationships to evolve and kids to really become known to their teachers and the staff. And I think that that is a really important component.
One thing, and I'll just be specific. The New York State curriculum is not always favorable to ninth graders in a certain area, and I'll just pick the social studies 2-year program. And then you get, when you go to, we just approved someone who's going to help us do some help for the kids that are taking secondary social studies in January. When you go to review, it's nice to have the same person to review with. And that's what we used to do. And I haven't heard that in a while. I don't know if it's just I haven't heard it or whatever, but I do see some pluses for the social studies program. That shouldn't drive anything. That should not drive anything, but it fits along with what you said earlier, Judy, about relationships, about this is what I was taught and this is who taught me, about having a program that has some continuity in it. I know we have students who have, we've had to duplicate services where we have students who, for whatever reason, are taking biology in 8th grade and then chemistry in 9th, so now we have to have double places for them to have their classrooms held and that sort of thing. So there's advantages to having this all in one place. And if we're not going to talk finances, we're just going to say there's advantages and there's disadvantages. You've mentioned those. I'm conflicted. What's the best thing for our students? And I also want to know what's the best way to use our building. And that's a money issue. That's a money issue. We are starting to have empty classrooms, or classrooms that are not used as well as they could be. And I want to see that we are getting the best bang for the buck with the facilities that we have. We also have aging classrooms, aging buildings, and what can we do about that too? That's a whole different question than what you asked. But what would you expect from me except to go off track and something?
I don't think you did. I really think you hit you hit it right on the head when you said, what's the best use of our buildings, Maureen? And, last year when we were going through our district advisory council, we were told, and we talked about with our community and with our consultants that, we have nicely kept adequate facilities. When it comes to 21st century learning, what type of learning spaces do we need? What type of lab settings do we have? Do 1970 labs, science labs, are they commensurate with 2019 labs, making sure that our students have the very best so they can compete beyond Fairport High School. I think we're asking the right questions when we say, how do we maximize connections? Where's the best venue to do that? Research-based ideas of making sure that students have connections. That's the number one thing that can help support student learning. Another research-based approach is curricular coherence, program coherence, making sure that our program's aligned and students have the opportunity and benefit to seamlessly transition. Again, another research-based piece of making sure that we understand transitions and the impact of transitions, but the programming piece, the curricular coherence piece, giving staff seamless opportunities to interact around curriculum and teaching and instruction, that's part of this decision. And that it's always about the money, but that's not what is driving this conversation, as you said, and nor would expect this board to be using that. But at the same time, it's a reality that you have been studying for the past several months. So I think the programming piece is the question, and I think you guys are all around it.
So can I add one more thing? I was talking to some people yesterday, and I heard third hand, because my friend heard from her friend's son, who is in the middle school, that he will not go to Neverland next year. So I said, news to me. I said, I cannot agree with that person's statement because I haven't heard it myself. And I would be the one that might have heard it, or might have said, yeah, that's a good idea. So if someone could just say, this is a rumor.
That's a big grapefruit.
As I told you, it went third hand to me.
Yeah.
And of course it's fact, because all facts are, all rumors are.
It must be on the internet, so it has to be.
It must be on the internet somewhere. But I just wanted you to know that every single year since we've had this conversation, the conversation in this community, because I heard it in the playgrounds with my grandchildren, my grandchild, that we are closing this year. We've been closing for 3 years. I keep telling them no. I've pointed out, and Brett, you mentioned, we've sent the paperwork to state ed. Can you give us, it's not going to happen this year, just sort of
Yeah,
a statement
and
that
every-
we don't have things ready to
Every time I meet
go?
with students, and I've said it, and I continue to say it, that's a nice big grapefruit or watermelon for me to hit out of the park here. It's a 4 to 5 year process. So if the board does make a decision to merge the schools, there's still a lot of legwork to be had, especially as we continue the other leg of that, which is the school start times, and there's logistics there that need to be ironed out and explored as well. So it's a 4 to 5 year process.
So this is the third year it might not happen.
The board needs to make a decision, so as soon as the board makes a decision, it will be a 4 to 5 year process after that.
That was clearly stated during the DAC process, that this is not something that's going to happen immediately. And I think it's probably worthwhile to talk about just the timelines. As we all learned during our retreat this weekend, we have BAUs to wait for. Right?
Building aid units.
That's right. And until we get that to really aid in the financial feasibility of this project, we're just not going to know where we're going to go. But we do expect that back within 2 to 3 weeks, I think.
I'm hopeful that we will have it, and we'll be able to have conversations in 2 to 3 weeks. Hopefully we'll have it before then, so we can do preliminary work. Mr. Stevens has work to do with the district's fiscal advisors once we get a confirmation on what those building aid units will be, so we can give you an accurate number, then we can share with the community on what that would mean to the community and the impact it would have.
Right. And it would be helpful, just from a non-financial perspective, Brett, that we've talked about here, it would be helpful if we can have maybe a really concise, maybe at a workshop, concise discussion about the non-financial aspects of keeping these buildings separate or merging them together. We can talk about best practices, what other districts have seen, who's got a separate ninth grade, who has them together, what pros and cons there are from a programming perspective, mental health. If we can really drill inside that and have a kind of a
So just build
lengthy
upon this
conversation.
So we could just build upon this
Yeah.
conversation, and that's what I sort of did, was I summarized some of the great ideas that were coming here, coming forth, and they are research, best practice conversations.
Great, okay.
And I think the question, Maureen, you, I think, started out there, right, was programming elective type things. Is that increase, decrease, stay the same? I mean, I guess that would be on some of people's minds. Are we losing opportunities? Are they gaining, or at least staying the same?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they do
Noted.
have financial implications, right? But we're not talking about that part yet. Other from our experts? That wasn't it.
So I'll give family expert. Having had 6 children who attended 9th grade, and one of them 9th and 10th at Minerva, and now 4 grandchildren, I would agree with what you said, Pete, that they usually begin with great enthusiasm, but then want to join that high school community by about mid-year. But more importantly than that, because I think that's probably just emotional development, social emotional development, is the cohesion for them if they're involved in courses that aren't offered in both buildings, or if they're involved in music programs that are only over here, or sports over here. It's kind of a fractured existence of being sort of the cousin, as it were, that goes over after school or that kind of thing. So I think from that perspective, if I were to ask them what they thought about it, they would be pretty unanimous in wanting to be united as a high school.
Yeah. I guess the last part of any rumor that might be out there that I hear from time to time is the building will then remain empty, which is not in any of our considerations of study or what we're looking at, right? It's just different purpose of it, but not left to be a blight on our community, so.
Again, if you look at the strategic initiatives, which have been out there in many forms, the expectation of the board is that partnerships come to fruition, having conversations with, many different agencies, like BOCES, to see how we can fulfill needs there and provide breakage and benefit to the district. That's a district priority set forth by the board.
Could I interject that I was wondering if we could take a look at what impact bringing the 2 schools together would have on transportation as well?
That's going to be a major consideration.
Right.
Correct. That's definitely an important consideration. In an initial preliminary conversation, I don't have the facts in front of me, but that was there was a cost analysis done that showed that there was some breakage with using less buses. I can get those numbers and put them to the forefront for you again, certainly.
And then that might be offset, though, if we were to adjust the start times. Is that correct?
That's what we're studying, that piece. That's why, the decision needs to be made.
Right.
And then, once the decision is made, that other piece will be able to do the math on that.
Okay.
But probably.
Thank you.
We love firm
Probably
commitments. Questions, points, things we want to kind of ask for later, the deep dive? No? Okay. Then the next part of the agenda are discussion and action items. Second reading of board policies. No first readings this time, so we've seen all of these before. Is there a motion to approve the second reading? Joyce? Second. Damon? Any questions on these?
I don't have any questions on these. I guess my question is, and I know we've talked about this quite a bit in the last couple of weeks, is what's the process for injecting a policy for a first reading analysis? And
The process, and please jump in and correct me, I think you just have to ask.
I would like to ask the policy committee, policy 7317, the use of personal technology within the district. If we could take a look at that, maybe work on that next, that would be, I think, timely.
Yeah, we could start. We should get started because that usually takes us
A year.
several meetings
Yeah.
before we
Before we bring it to you.
Yeah,
All right.
so.
Thank you.
Because we do touch base with a lot of different groups,
Yeah. Yep.
administrators, and I think we should bring students into it this time. We did not last time. I'd like to this
Yeah,
time.
great. And I know that Judy talked about the wellness committee, having talked about this a little bit. So I think the more
Yeah.
constituents or stakeholders we have involved in the decision, the better. But I think we need consistent policy and then consistent regulation around that policy.
Agree.
So, that's great. Thank you.
So all in favor? Second
what?
reading, of the second reading?
Of the second reading,
Yes.
okay.
Are you raising your hand to that? All in favor one more time? 7-0, I think. School-sponsored field trips, motion to approve. They were submitted. Joyce, second. Judy? Questions about those? It's a standard list, I believe, this time. All in favor? 7-0. C, tax refund. The board approves the revised tax refund. We have several of these in a row that we have to vote on, or a couple of these that we have to vote on separately.
Can you just
So.
tell us about them generally?
Yes, because you don't know what 108.02 means? No, sorry, so, Matt, right, if you'd
First
like to,
152.
just quickly.
Wait until.
Yes.
Oh, the motion, we never got that, right, sorry, the motion, any motion, Judy, second, Marty, okay.
Okay, so the town, I believe you have this information, but the town of Perrington notified the district of 2 of the pilots, either the payment in lieu of tax agreements. Back in 2017-18 is the first one, so that's parcel 108.02-158-212. That is related to the woodlands at Stonebrook on Stonebrook Drive. The correct assessment is $875,000 per the agreement versus $1.25 million. So there's a refund on that one, which is this parcel right here. I can wait until.
I
the
guess
next
so
one.
that would be the right order to do it,
Yep.
so we'll get the next explanation. Questions about that?
That's the one we got. The background information?
Yes.
Yes,
Mhm.
okay.
All in favor? 7-0. The next tax refund for the next parcel in over 2 years, in this case, need a motion to approve. Marty, second, Judy. So Matt?
In this piece is, again, one of the County of Monroe Industrial Development Agency pilot agreements, and notified as well that the incorrect percentages were provided in terms of this one. So this is not the assessed value, this is not the change in the assessment, but in terms of how the calculation is made, in terms of the percent that is eased in over the course of the pilot agreement. So the incorrect percentage was used, and this is also for 17-18 as well as the current 18-19 school year. So we're recalculating based on the information provided by the town and the proper percentages. Just as a
Question? Oh, go
quick
ahead.
side note, this applied related to county taxes, school taxes, town taxes, so each
Everybody's
municipality had to make such adjustments, so, thank you.
Okay.
Sometimes I just like to say no to these things, you know? Nah, just bear with it.
I'm not sure there's very many elected officials who like to say no to a tax refund. But anyway, all in favor? Okay, 7-0. So board comments, in haste, we started late and I started rushing through, but I did pass up some retirements with appreciations. There's a long list, so I guess I won't go through that list, but to point out those who have retired, give us notice of retirement, most of them, I think all of them for June 30th this year, and we hate to see our people retire, but we are excited for them. So thank you for your service and finishing out this year with us. We appreciate that, to all those who are retiring. And with that, I will open it up for any other comments before a motion for executive session. Is there any others?
I did have a meeting today about the legislative breakfast, and so any of you who plan to go, please let Monroe County School Boards know that you're going to be there because they want to have a count. And so far, I think, Maureen, it's just you and I who have responded.
I'll be there.
No,
But I mean, I.
Did you let,
Normally-
they don't? Oh, well, let
Yeah.
Ariel know, because
I thought I
I
had
was
responded as
surprised
well.
to just see the two of our names there, because
Yeah, no, I-
usually we have a bigger group.
I wouldn't
So-
miss that breakfast.
Yeah.
But I'll have breakfast first.
Yeah.
So, but I-
Well, we're at a new venue
'Cause you've
this
had
time,
that
so we
breakfast.
don't know
What's
what
the
it'll.
venue?
It's at Penfield Country Club.
We were there last time.
No.
We were at Shadow Lake last time.
Shadow Lake had a
Which
fire.
was better than what we used to have. So I
That's
don't
true.
know what the
We're
country
getting
club's
better
going to
off.
be, but
Okay.
Shadow Lake couldn't
Yeah, I
do it,
kinda
so now we're at
wanted
the
that.
country club. But in any case,
Okay.
it should be interesting because we have new people, new legislature.
That's
The Senate
February
has turned
2nd.
over, so they're scrambling and.
It'll be
We have a
interesting.
new Joe Morelli, right?
We have a new Joe
Well,
Morelli,
Joe says
that's
he wants to
correct.
come. I don't know if he will or
So,
not. He might discover once he gets to Congress that it's not
Well,
quite
he
the
asked to
same.
come to this.
Yeah.
You know, even though this isn't his venue any longer, but we invited him and said, sure, if you want to come, come. Who knows if he can make it? I'm sure he doesn't know at this stage. But please let Ariel know if you're going to go so that the count can get in.
Okay. Ariel? No, Could you send her a note, let her know that?
Okay, I'm sending it right
Christine,
now,
would
so
you just-
Damon also,
Yep.
right? And Marty.
Just, I'll go next, if that's okay. We all got an email, Andrew Cuomo gave the State of the State address today. I don't know if anybody saw it, I didn't, but I got an email kind of calling out the highlights of what he talked about, and of course, he's a very political governor, obviously. He has a social justice list of priorities, and I won't go through every one of them, but as I scroll down through here, I look for specifics that will have an impact on education, and I don't see a whole lot about education per se. He does say expand protections for public sector union members, which is interesting given the fact that like 3 years ago, I think it was, that he like attacked union members severely. So, you know, he's obviously flipped to some degree, but I'm not sure what that means for us. And then there's other things that he's proposing. The last thing he talks about, continuing to phase in middle class tax cuts, which is revenue for us, extending the millionaire's tax, and making the highly successful property tax permanent. So that's.
Property limit.
Yes, the tax cap limit, right. And so I think that sets the climate for what we're dealing with this year, right? And he's got about 20 others that are really more social justice type of things. But in terms of.
marijuana?
Yeah, there's something weird about
Yeah.
that. That's, you know.
State aid runs were also shared, but they just came too late, and we don't have those calculated. But early reports indicate that it's going to fall way short, and our advocacy will be put to the test. I know in the coming days when we get that figured out, we'll get that to the board and to the school community as a whole.
And we'll have talking points for the breakfast from Monroe County School Board so that we'll have some information in front of us. And so far, someone from the governor's budget office is supposed to come. So I may want some information from you, some numbers and some things that we can talk specifics instead of generalities.
And then there's the Albany.
Albany
lobby
is
trip
in March,
early
right.
March.
The
That's in
breakfast is
March.
February 2nd, and then in March, we'll do the two-day
Right,
trip
so
to
it's just the
Albany.
annual.
So, yeah.
It'll start here, and then we'll
We'll
come
keep
together.
advocating.
Yep. Okay, that's it for me, thanks.
And I just wanted to report on the CPAC committee that I went to this month. CPAC is our Chemical Prevention Advisory Committee, and includes students, teachers, staff. It includes outsiders who are in the profession of drug and dependency. And they were talking about the potential resolution that the governor was going to send forward on marijuana. The law, if it's what they were talking about, it just says we will allow marijuana to be legalized and to be taxed, and you can't buy it until you're 21. And we all sort of laughed because you can't buy it now, but you can certainly use it. And the one thing that came out in the meeting that I went to and I shared with you is that there is a concern that has been people in the states that have already done this are seeing that there's some changes in the rates at which kids finish school on time, which is to say within a 4-year period, because the use of marijuana can impact your ability to focus, your ability to do well in school. And so the interesting thing is the people who are in favor are saying we're not talking about usage, we're just talking about buying it legally. And if you just buy it legally, there's no problem. So I will sort of mention there is a problem with the usage of marijuana when I have a chance to talk to legislators, that just buying it legally it creates a whole different set of problems. I appreciate the thought that the governor puts into trying to come up with new money, new revenues for our state, in other syntax. So, but this one has some other things that are attached to it that concern me, and concern the people at CPAC as we were hearing about it. So, my report. Here it is.
It's right there in priority.
And it's a priority. Nice. It's a priority. Well, it has to be because if you want to have it come into the budget for this coming year, it has to be approved before the 1st of April in order to be in this coming year's budget. So it must be a priority to have it in the budget.
It was front page of the DNC today, which I just saw at Panorama Collision because I had a little car accident. But
Sorry.
It was on the front page of the DNC. I read the
Collision?
He wants,
Your collision?
yeah, the collision. No, the legalization of recreation marijuana. He wants that done by April 1st. So
Is he saying any of those streams of revenue are designated for education, or?
I
We
didn't
got the
read.
lottery.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's been pretty well studied that when you get a new stream of revenue from this hand, the politicians are more than happy to take it from the other side so that schools don't really make out that much better. And
He didn't-
that's,
Yeah, again, it's not on his priority list. In terms of expenditures.
well, that's good.
150 billion for infrastructure, but maybe that's in school infrastructure is included in that, but I doubt it.
No. Unless we have some bridges. We can build a bridge from, no.
To nowhere. Okay, enough comments. Then we have several purposes for executive session. We will not be making any decisions, so if you tend to hang around, that when we come out to see if we make a decision, we will not be doing so. We will adjourn immediately and go home. So I need a motion to enter into executive session. Judy, second. Maureen, I don't think I gave you a chance tonight. I didn't look that way. No. And all in favor? Very good. Thank you to all those who attended tonight. Have a good night.